Today on Locked On Rockies, they made a nice under-the-radar move. They brought Brent Suter into the bullpen last year. It turned out to be one of the better moves the Rockies made. I don't know if they're going to be able to bring Brent Suter back, but I'd certainly welcome it.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 28th day of November in the year 2023. I'm the host of the Rocked On Rockies podcast, the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, well, guess what? I got good news for you. You're in the right spot. That's what we do around here, is talk Rockies baseball each and every day right here on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can leave your comments, and where your subscription is the easiest way to help the show grow. Really do appreciate that. Really do appreciate you all tuning in and joining us here and making us your first listen of the day. Today on Locked On Rockies, we return to our Reviewing the Rockies series as, some random kind of contracts are being signed and people are being announced. I thought this was an appropriate time, linked, of course, with our friends at Purple Row, bringing up an article about Brent Suter in their Reviewing the Rockies series. I wanted to talk about Brent Suter today, and I wanted to talk about, well, again, not flashy, not overall dominant, but one of the best pieces for the Rockies bullpen here in a tough season. It is really something that it's an interesting situation for the Rockies, Brent Suter. So we're going to review Brent Suter. We're going to talk about bringing Brent Suter back. Are they going to be able to bring Brent Suter back? Those are all the questions. But to really put it simply, Brent Suter was great. Low risk deal of a guy that had a proven track record of success and someone that was really liked by the area that he came from in Milwaukee. And it wasn't like he forced his way out or anything. The team let him go, and that's that. The Rockies were quick to move on it, and it turned out to be a really smart move for him. Brent Suter was stability. Brent Suter was dominant at times. Brent Suter was a great ad for the Rockies here, and he took on the challenges very well. And again, just like every member of the Rockies team, bullpen especially, they had their moments, and unfortunately a tough stretch there in the back half of the season. But Brent Suter escaped largely unscathed and was basically consistent with how he's been as a pitcher when you look at for the past 3 seasons now. A little bit higher in some areas and this and that, but things vary and go from that. For example, let up less hits in fewer innings pitched than 2021 this year. My favorite thing here, and I think one of the things that's a great selling point for the Rockies and a reason to be really encouraged by Brent Suter, he gave up 3 home runs this year. 3 in 69 innings pitched. And I know that's for a bullpen pitcher, that number's got to be low. But not only was that low for the Rockies, that was low compared to the last 2 years. And that's going into the challenging place of Coors Field. 9 home runs in 2022 and 2021 given up by Suter. Only 3 given up here again with the Rockies. That's massive. Honestly, as a bullpen pitcher for the Rockies, if you can keep that home run number down, that's critical. That's key, especially when you look at certain situations you might be coming into where the Rockies are facing bases on, there's a little bit of traffic. Whoa, frog in the throat. Traffic on the bases. You feel more Brent Suter just brought confidence. I mean, with how many people you kind of just held your breath with the Rockies in terms of pitching this year, Brent Suter wasn't one of them. And that low home run number is something that I just love to see. And it just shows you that it's possible. This is a guy that came in after pitching his entire career in Milwaukee, came into Coors Field in the first season and was able to find success limiting the long ball. Now, on the flip side, unfortunately, when you look at things, career high in walks by one. He had 24 walks in 2021 with Milwaukee, 22 walks in 2022. So not necessarily like he has been dealing with this for a bit. That's kind of a par for the course when you look at his career. He's hovered in the 20s when it comes to, or near 20s for walks when he's pitched at least 60 innings in a season. So, of course, that is something and killer. But again, paired with that low home run total, how does Kyle Freeland get burned? How does Austin Gomber get burned? How do Rockies pitchers get burned time and time again? They walk somebody, they give up the home run. We've seen that play out millions and millions of times, it feels like, when you're Rockies fans, and especially last year. But for Brent Suter, he was able to navigate walks better, and he was able to handle business. I mean, another good thing for him is 55 strikeouts. Again, it's not the best he's ever done in his career, but an improvement from 2022. And had an opportunity and just a good walk to strikeout ratio there as well, which is critical for the Rockies. Again, I think the biggest thing and the biggest issue that you have with Brent Suter is the 25 walks. I mean, that's something that, again, it's just such a the walk issues of the Rockies pitching staff is just deeper than just individual players. It goes deeper to the philosophy and approach, I think, as well, mixed in with, again, he's not the best reliever in the business. He's just a solid one and someone that was a positive contribution to the Rockies. Finishes 3.38 ERA, appeared in 57 games for the Rockies this year, and had 3 save opportunities. 0 for 3 in save opportunities, which is a bummer to see. But again, overall for him, whip of 1.30. This is a fine line. It was a really good line, especially to know that Brent Suter was coming out of the pen. You felt good. And if you can get him for the right price, I think it's a no doubter you bring back Brent Suter. Especially when you think about it and you think about the issues that you got to face. Go to a surefire thing, someone that you know is going to help your team win ball games, and that's what Brent Suter did in 2023, more often than not. The question, though, is, are the Rockies going to be able to get the job done? Let's talk about that. We'll take a look at this article from Purple Row and lots more coming up in segment number 2 of today's episode of Locked On Rockies. But before we do that, got to tell you about the people that help make this show possible, and that includes FanDuel. You can get in on all the action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. If you've been believing in the Broncos, you can be scoring that bonus bet. If you want to believe in the Broncos this weekend, there's a really big matchup with the Broncos and the Texans coming up. You can get $150 in bonus bets if the Broncos win with any winning $5 moneyline bet. And so you can try it out on the other sports too. If you want to bet on the Avs, bet on the Nuggets, why not? You can see all the action they got going on at FanDuel. The app is super easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon for all your football betting action this NFL season. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon for that $150 promo bonus bets with that winning $5 moneyline bet when you check out FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Man, we really, as Rockies fans, lost our opportunity to keep bringing up the Broncos' struggles this season, huh? After the turnaround so far, you can't. We were able to rely on that one for a little bit for our off-season fun, joking, talking points. Even though, if you've been watching the show, you know I care deeply about the Broncos. It's just funny as, unfortunately, Rockies and the Rapids continue to be at the bottom of the business. I mean, I'm just going, I don't know much about the Rapids, but I've heard things aren't going well for the Colorado MLS team. Why am I talking about this? I don't know. That was just me riffing off of that that ad read there. But wanted to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Wanted to thank you all for checking out the Locked On Rockies podcast on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where your subscription is the easiest way to help the show grow. And I wanted to let you know as well that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. All right. We are talking Brent Suter today on the Locked On Rockies podcast. One of my favorite moves of the Rockies. Obviously not the best move the Rockies made. That was for Nolan Jones, but Brent Suter was good for the Rockies, and he was someone that it was a nice opportunity, and it really opens up a really interesting window for Suter here. He showed that he can handle Coors Field. He shows that he was still effective. He's shown that he could really do some. He's got some effective pitching, especially when you look at the off-speed stuff. His off-speed numbers are off the charts when you're looking at the baseball savant numbers on that off-speed stuff. The fastball and breaking stuff, not as much, but he's got some really, really impressive numbers when it comes to hard hit percentage, barrel percentage, 3.3% barrel percentage, 26.3% hard hit percentage. Average exit velocity off the bat is only 84 miles per hour. I mean, really good stuff in some advanced metrics for a guy to come in there and handle himself and handle getting that, inducing that weak contact. I mean, that's great. That is Rockies pitching right there. They want if you're going to swing and swing at stuff and hit stuff, if you're missing the barrel, if you're only hitting the barrel 3% of the time, that's what I feel like the Rockies pitching philosophy loves. So to me, it's kind of a slam dunk for Brent Suter and the Rockies to reunite. I know he said he's interested in it, but he wants to explore free agency. There's going to be a lot of teams interested in him, man. I mean, there's just simply too much value there. I don't think he's going to be someone that thinks he can command a huge salary or something crazy. Maybe a little bit of a bump, I guess, when you look at it. I think he signed for a $900,000 deal with the Rockies last year. It was something just encouraging to see that he really embraced this challenge and kind of took everything head on. And I just love that mentality instead of being put off. And you hear it a lot with Rockies pitchers, I know, and people coming into Coors, and it's always going to be talked about, but he just seemed like that wasn't the focus. That wasn't ever part of his ball game. And he wrote here, and this is from Purple Row here. He says, I pitched in Colorado Springs across 3 AAA seasons, so I knew my stuff, how it was affected by altitude and what I could do about it, Suter said. I felt like it was a challenge to be embraced, and it's an environment that if you show you can excel here, it really proves a lot. I think that's, I think he does. He made a bunch of teams this offseason raise their eyebrows. He is a player that I think would be a tremendous depth piece to your playoff club. I think if you have someone like, if the Rockies were a playoff team and they had someone like Brent Suter, he'd be one of the people I felt the most confident in coming out of the pen. When his stuff is on, and when you have the flashes, and when you have the moments like Brent Suter had, you can be dominant, and he can be so effective in stretches here. And we go back here to Purple Rose. Suter immediately made an impact, allowing just 2 earned runs through his first 13 appearances with the Rockies. Despite his pure stuff perhaps not being considered elite, he was able to use it well and generate some of the softest contact of any pitcher in Major League Baseball over the course of the season. There's just everything to like about that. There's just everything to be encouraged by when it comes to Brent Suter, if you're the Rockies or any other team. Now, the one thing you have to consider and think about, and it's longevity. How long-term do you really want to go here with Brent Suter? And for Brent Suter, he has to ask himself the question of, does he want to do another short term to prove that he can get a bigger contract? Does he want to settle for less in terms of money or years to play for a better team? He did speak fondly of Colorado during his time here, even in the midst of a struggling season. He still was someone that wasn't languishing in the Coors Field environment. For the right price, in the right level of years. Honestly, price isn't necessarily what I'm concerned about when it comes to Suter's demands or what he's thinking about, or the Rockies in general. I don't think you commit to more than 2 years. Just because of the nature of the business. And if you offer a 2-year deal to Brent Suter, you're giving him that's 3 years. That's a good solid period of time for the vet to establish and to get set up, and especially, bouncing back after a full career. That gives you, if you sign a 2-year deal with the Rockies, you're approaching a decade in the league. The bigger question is just going to be, does he need to is he one of those players that is very driven by the championship? Every athlete and every professional athlete and baseball player wants to win a World Series. But I think when it comes down to it, for some players, when they think about things, when they prioritize things, when they think about off the field, when they think about family, when they think about personal life, when they think about money, the championship gets factored into the business equation. And I don't know where Brent Suter lies. Because to come out and produce the line that he produced from Coors Field, if you're to do a show me contract here, as Mac Wilcox writes or says at Purple Rose, the headline, by the way, Brent Suter was exactly what the Rockies needed in 2023. I agree. Was doing that at Coors Field, albeit with a losing team, enough to entice those teams? And if you're Brent Suter, how much is it? Say the Rockies offer more money than a competitive team. How much is that difference? Because I think Brent Suter's a good guy to have in your club. He seems like just a good clubhouse presence. He seems like the right guy to have with these bullpen pieces. His approach and his style works really well with the Rockies' identity and philosophy. But you can't sit here and say 2024 is going to be a competitive season for the Rockies. I mean, most likely it is not. And the only reason we can't say that it isn't a competitive season right off the bat is because it hasn't happened yet. And crazy things do happen. But if the Rockies are going to win the close ball games next year, if the Rockies are going to take the step forward of being the team that plays the complete 9 innings or does the comeback late and is the one that snatches victory away from other teams versus the team that lets it go, Brent Suter will play a big role in that. Brent Suter will not be an easy arm to replace out of the bullpen for the Rockies next year. If they lose Brent Suter, your bullpen gets significantly weaker. Veteran depth, veteran success, and added on top the fact that he throws left-handed. All of that is valuable to the Rockies. And they've been able to have some success, but when you're going by just off of WAR and you're going in this is how Purple Row does their ranking system. They just take the Baseball Reference WAR and they just put it all in order, no matter what it is. He had the 12th highest WAR on the entire team last year. 12th. Wasn't very high. Wasn't even 1. It was 0.8. highlights the issues with the Rockies, certainly. But again, I'm telling you, just in the scope of the 2023 Rockies, Brent Suter was one of the best ones. He was one of the best bullpen pieces that you have. Outside of Justin Lawrence, probably. And they make a good combo. I mean, I think it's a very interesting dynamic having Lawrence and Suter as a combo. And I'll tell you why coming up in segment number 3. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast. We are your Colorado Rockies podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. If your team is the Colorado Rockies, you're in the right spot. Thank you so much for joining us. I am your Rockies fan extraordinaire, Paul Holden. 3 seasons under my belt here on the Locked On Podcast Network and a lifetime of Rockies fandom to rant and rave with you all about. We've been talking and reviewing Brent Suter here, and we've been talking about the fact that great value, great performance, everything worked well for Brent Suter last year. Outside of the career high in walks, we acknowledge that. The ERA was in the 3s, but still, all of the numbers and everything you look at Suter, very encouraging, and makes it match up to be, in my opinion, a no doubt not a long-term commitment, but a 2-year deal, 3, maybe 3 at the most. Not going to be opposed to it. Make him, 36 at that point? I think close to it. 89. Anyway. But certainly, I mean, again, there was nothing to suggest in Brent Suter's performance last year that coming to Coors Field had a significant impact on him. His numbers were consistent with how he pitched in the 2 seasons prior with Milwaukee. He was way down in home runs. Lots to like. And then, as I mentioned before, I really like the combo of Suter and Lawrence. Really great ability to induce weak contact. And then you come in with someone with a devastating sweeping pitch. A really tough pitch to hit. I think that provides a really tough matchup out of the bullpen for teams going against the Rockies. But the thing with Suter and Lawrence is I just don't think you can't count too long. Suter, you could probably get a little bit more. Lawrence is we've seen flashes, but those two guys are really not, when in close games for the Rockies last season, even in the tough stretches with the bullpen last year, those are the two guys I wanted to see the most. And sometimes Daniel Bard, but not so much sometimes. Daniel Bard is when you're looking at Brent Suter, there's some similarities in the sense of again, how long do you commit after the impressive season there? How long do you want to buy in? But that's why with the Bard thing, at least it's not too much. What is it? One more deal, one more year on the Daniel Bard deal. Or did they just, wasn't that? Let's see. Yeah, it was a 2-year deal that he signed, which was great. Good chunk of money. I don't know if he gets Daniel Bard money. Daniel Bard making $9.5 million this in there. But certainly, a low risk 2-year deal, especially. Why not? You need that. The Rockies need a Brent Suter type pitcher right now. The Rockies need someone that doesn't give up a ton of home runs. The Rockies need someone that can strike people out. The Rockies need someone that induces a league low in contact and produces incredibly weak contact at that. But Brent Suter's gonna have I am certain that he's having an interesting offseason when it comes to the approach and negotiations he's having with teams. He can help a lot of teams. And I saw some mumblings, Chicago kind of makes sense. The old man, and then, you got the man of the Milwaukee ties, a team certainly poised to build and make a splash next year. Absolutely. But the Rockies really would benefit from keeping Brent Suter around. It's just his story and his season's a really good one. It's a selling point for the Rockies to say, hey, look, this guy came in and he handled it. Maybe it's the 3 years of AAA at Albuquerque that helps. I mean, that's certainly a factor. But to say that Brent Suter was able to come to Colorado and pitch and keep on it with how he's been as a pitcher the last few seasons is pretty darn good. Again, not great, not best closer, not best relief pitcher in baseball, not an all-star, but solid, consistent depth and a solid option out of the bullpen that helps your team put themselves in a position to win ball games. And I will take someone that allows 3 home runs the entire season any day of the week. Limiting the long ball is so important for the Rockies pitching staff, and Brent Suter was one of the best in the business to do that. And if the Rockies really, really believe in this generating weak contact philosophy, Brent Suter is the exact type of pitcher you want on your team. We'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be an interesting storyline to follow to see how it shakes out. But folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We really do appreciate that here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. Hey, don't forget, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today and YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. If you're looking for more content that you will love, the Locked On MLB podcast has you covered for baseball. But if you need more Colorado sports coverage, Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, Locked On Buffs, all available to you Colorado sports-aholics. Check it out. Enjoy it, and make sure you follow all those shows as well. Hey, coming up this week, we're going to talk about Kris Bryant's contract and looking into the issues it's going to create for the Rockies and already is creating for the Rockies. And we'll be doing that and following any breaking Rockies news right here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden, signing off.